Am I hosting or are you hosting? I mean, hey, I'll do it. Welcome, everybody, to the Final Yard here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. I am your host for today, Louis Sung, and I am joined by the man, the myth, the legend, the guy behind 5 Reasons, Ethan Skolnick, who is up late with us here, watching the Miami Dolphins put up what was undoubtedly a valiant attempt, but just wasn't good enough. Lost to the Buffalo Bills. It's 32-29. They were this close to getting past them. Just some minor miscues early in the game. They came back. They fought hard. They fought really hard, but the snow came down and it wasn't enough, ladies and gentlemen. It wasn't enough. So, and we're going to get into everything that we just saw. We're going to get into everything that we're feeling, everything that's going to be happening in the future, because believe it or not, this does have some actual ramifications for the rest of the season. But first, just want to go ahead and make sure that this is mentioned, that as always, this show is brought to you by our sponsors, PrizePicks.com. PrizePicks.com is the revolutionary fantasy platform where you can now pick up to 6 different players across professional sports leagues, whether that's the NFL, the NBA, the MLB. If you want to combine them, you can do that too. It's up to you to decide. You can choose the over or the under on those individual players' fantasy projections, whether that's individual stats like how many yards they're going to throw for, or if you're just going for classic fantasy point projections. And they will even occasionally send you freebie picks to take advantage of. They will send you extra discounted picks. They're actually having what is called now the 12 days of Picksmas, where every single day they're actually giving you an extra promo for you to play with. You can just go ahead and go to prizepicks.com and make sure when you sign up that you're using the promo code 5, that's FIVE, and they will match up to $100 on your initial deposit when you sign up. You don't have to do anything special to do it. You just go use the promo code when you first sign up, and they will give you $100 extra to play with on top of the $100 that you already have. Once again, that's promo code 5, FIVE, and they will match your $100 if you go ahead and put up to $100 in there. PrizePicks.com. All right. So right now, Ethan, things are mixed for me. Right now, Miami's sitting at 8-6. Right now they have Green Bay coming up at home, which is a very winnable game. They have New England in New England again. If we can do this with Buffalo, I don't think that New England's that scary. And, of course, we have the New York Jets, which, of course, they have their own messes right now, and they're kind of winning in spite of it. So, with that being said, what do you blame the most for the Dolphins not ultimately coming out on top here?
Well, it's hard to assess too much blame, and I see the comments coming in here, and I think let's start with the bright side stuff. And I don't want a sunshine pump, although I feel like with that snow up there, maybe that's necessary. The Dolphins played with this team. Now, this is a team that was projected to run away with this division this year. That was arguably the best team in football. Miami beat them in Miami. It was blamed on the sun and on the fact that the Bills' secondary was beat up. So Miami goes up there to their conditions, plays their kind of game, and has an 8-point lead late. I'm going to take some encouragement from that, okay? So let's start with that, okay? And this is why I feel like this is mixed, because it was there for them, okay? It was there for them. They had a number of guys who played at an extraordinarily high level today. Zach Sealer played at an extraordinarily high level today. Javon Holland made a huge play today. Raheem Mostert played a tremendous game, made all the right reads, hit the hole, okay, had big runs today. I thought Ahmed played well when he came in. Waddle made a huge play. Hill made a couple of plays. I thought Cedric Wilson made a big play. They had guys who stepped up today and played well. The special teams, I thought, for the most part, which has been a problem spot for the Dolphins all year, played well. I appreciate our producer, Manny Chang, and I know we'll get some of those comments up for you here as we're talking. The thing is, the reason it's frustrating is because it was there for them. And there are a couple of things here that just are repeated issues, which is that I love Mike McDaniel as a coach. I love everything that he's brought to this team. I love the way he's changed the culture. I love the way he is with the players. I love his creativity in the play calling. I don't love that he gets so cute. We have talked about this numerous times. He repeatedly got away from what was working today to be cute. You don't need to throw an out route on 3rd and 1 when you've got Mostert and Ahmed who are basically bludgeoning the Bills defense. It's not necessary, okay? You don't always need to outsmart the other team. Once they started to run the ball, then Tua was getting that extra half second to throw, and he made a three. Look, they had that run with Ahmed. The next play, he hit Hill in the end zone on a perfect timing route. But to get away from it so consistently is frustrating. The other thing that is frustrating, and look, once the conditions deteriorated, I throw a lot of it out. Okay, it is hard to cover guys on third down, all right, when you're dealing with the blizzard, okay, when you're not accustomed to it. But this team can't get off the field on third down consistently. It just can't defensively, and that has been a problem all year long. So those two things, which have been issues from, look, Jason Sanders was not an issue today. He made his kicks, okay? He made the kick he had to make, okay? You look again at the pass rush, wasn't great the whole game for sure, but they made enough plays when it mattered. Allen ran well against him. I told everybody to go over on the Prize Picks 45. He had that basically on one play, but until then, they had held it mostly in check until that one play. They did a lot of good things today. They did a lot of good things. They are a good football team, I believe, which I did not know if they were before the year. I had them at 11-6 before the year. I still think they're going to get there, but they're a good team. They can play with the Bills. But they can't afford to being too cute, as McDaniel's been on offense. And some of the calls, I mean, Boyer, like, how soft are you going to play on these second downs and 16s or second downs and 17, which are allowing, the opponent to get to 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, and get to these short down and distance situations because you're just basically handing them 15 yards. My frustrations today are the Dolphins are not as good as the Bills, but they're pretty damn close. And this was winnable today. It was absolutely winnable. And I'm going to be disappointed now if they don't win their last 3 games because they are better than all 3 of those teams at this stage. They should be 11-6. They should make the playoffs.
Yeah, if they win out, it's hard to find a scenario where they don't make the playoffs. And that's the thing about it that we can take from it and say, okay, there's still encouragement and there's still a reason to be excited. Because, again, the fact that they hung with the Bills this entire time, they were able to fight back. They got back in this game. Yeah, they had some lucky calls go their way, but you could argue the Bills had a lot of lucky calls go their way, too. You can see a lot of PI calls that were not called on Tre'Davious White, for instance. There were, of course, the snowballs. You saw the snowballs start flying again when during the little scuffle with Landon Roberts. No penalty, huh? Empty threat, I'm guessing, with that snowball thing. Okay, but that's fine. Whatever. It's fine. We just move on, and it's not like the snowballs really made that much of a difference at the end of the day. It was just, I would call it unsportsmanlike conduct, but what do you expect from Buffalo? But I digress. The biggest thing for me right now is that a lot of blame is being put on Josh Boyer, and believe me, I have my gripes with how Josh Boyer calls defenses. And this is the same thing the Buffalo Bills fans were complaining about when they came to Miami. They didn't have Jordan Poyer. They didn't have Micah Hyde. They didn't have a lot of their players on defense. What did the Miami Dolphins have today? If you really look at what the defense was that they put out there, it was a lot of backups, especially in, where was it? The secondary. The same complaint that the Buffalo Bills were having when they came to Miami. So it works one way, but not the other. That's what I'm going to say. Now, if you want to say, oh, you can't make excuses, you're supposed to be the best team in the NFL, fine, whatever. But if you're a team that is missing some of your star players on defense, it mattered for Buffalo and it mattered for Miami too. So when you don't have Byron Jones, and I'm still calling Byron Jones, I'm still calling him because I feel like he would make a big difference right now. He would make a big difference in how Josh Boyer probably calls defenses because I give credit to Kader Kohu, okay? He is an undrafted rookie free agent out of a tiny school that nobody had ever heard of until he showed up. And he is doing his best to be in a starting role that he wasn't supposed to have yet. Like, we didn't even know he was going to get playing time before this. It was supposed to be Nick Needham.
Well, but Louis, let me challenge you on that a little bit because I think this is a good debate because I understand what you're saying and I get it, but I can't throw the Byron Jones thing in there anymore. It's been, what are we at now? This is week 14, week 15.
It's week 14.
I mean, he did a great job adjusting with Kohu this year. Okay, at this point, like, that has to be thrown. Look, Javon Holland going out for a few plays to me at this point is a bigger deal than Byron Jones not being there because Byron Jones, he's had time to work around that and to scheme up something different. They handed him an elite pass rusher in exchange for a first-round pick. So they did something. Greer did something to change the context of the defense where it'd be more reliant on, you talked about this, on the front seven, making plays because you didn't have Byron Jones anymore. So to me, that excuse is kind of out the window for him. The excuse I understand is you lose Holland during the game. Okay. X is not the same. Okay. It's just not the same. Like I tweeted during the game, like to me, the core of your secondary next year is Cater Kohu, Brandon Jones, and Javon Holland. Like I mean, to me, I don't know if this is the X you're going to get next season. I mean, I'd rather trade him for a draft pick, to be honest, at this stage. So I understand what you're saying, that he doesn't have the same deck of cards he had at the beginning of the year, but that's the case with every team. He has to make adjustments there. The linebackers, I'm putting Jerome Baker on some of these guys out of the backfield. Like that hasn't worked. That's got to change. They got to come up with something different there. He's made adjustments in terms of, some of what he's done with the defensive line, but the blitzing, Allen was 6 of 7 on his first 7 attempts against the blitz. Like it's not. He saw every blitz coming. Like it's not working. It's
right.
not.
It doesn't work. And but that's where I say why the secondary, and I know that Byron Jones, like he's had time to adapt, but the quality of the player still matters. And I am sorry, I'm still going to say that Byron Jones, when healthy, which I don't know if he is, like there's talk.
He never will be in a Dolphin uniform again. So I just, you know what I mean? I get what you're saying. He would have been important.
It would have been a big deal if he had shown up at any point this season, and there's technically still time, but I don't think he will. I don't think he's going to come back at this point. So it is what it is. But the fact of the matter is that you have an undrafted free agent rookie playing well, mind you. But again, in relatively speaking, for an undrafted rookie free agent, that would be like Nick Needham when he was a rookie coming in here and trying to do what he's doing. It's the same. He can play well, but he's not a top 10 cornerback in the NFL. He's not. And that's what Miami had last year that they do not have now. And we can say that Xavier Howard is not the same guy. And I agree with that to some extent. But the problem is that when you don't have your buddies back there to back you up, every time you make a mistake, it shows. Every single time. Because now, instead of being able to be the ball hawking cornerback that you made a name for yourself, now you have to be the cover guy. You have to basically be what Byron Jones is, which is the guy who locks down the cornerback while the other guy gets to make plays. Now you don't have that anymore. So Xavier Howard, technically, if you really think about it, is out of his element, which is not a good thing. So that's one thing for me. As for the pass rush, the Buffalo Bills knew that with the likes of Justin Bethel, Noah Igbenogany out there, and again, just driving me up a wall every time he shows his face. And again, you have Verone McKinley because there's no Eric Rowe. And again, these are young players. They're going to improve. They're going to do well, but they are still young players learning how to do everything. And for them to come out here and be like, oh yeah, I'm going to totally play at the same level as our starters, there's a reason they're backups.
No, I get it, but they were in this thing regardless. I mean, to me, when I look at this game, I say they're up 8 in the fourth quarter. Okay. And I know you don't have your full deck there, but there were also drives and mistakes on the offensive side. See, I'm going to blame, and I'm a McDaniel guy, okay? But I think his demeanor was perfect for this game. I think he got his team ready for this game. I appreciate that. I've covered a lot of Dolphins teams that went up to Buffalo who were not ready for the circumstances. This team was ready to play. I give him credit for that. But I think he mismanaged parts of this game. I do. I just think this obsession with throwing the ball on 3rd and 1. You can make the argument in a game where they were not effective running the ball, but they were effective running the ball. Their center, okay, was doing a terrific job, okay, getting off the ball. They were creating gaps and creases. I thought Brandon Shell played pretty well. Their offensive line did a good job today. And not only that, both Mostert and, of course, they didn't have Jeff Wilson, who would have been helpful today, but both Mostert and Ahmed, they hit the hole quickly. They were decisive. They made the right reads. Like the running game was working. It was working whether it was a stretch play, it was working off tackle. Why get so cute? Okay, we talked about this in the San Francisco game, before the San Francisco game. He has this habit now, and I look, again, I love the guy. I think he's the right coach for the next 10, 20 years, okay? But he has this thing where the smartest man in the room syndrome. it comes across too often at the wrong times during games. And this isn't like second guessing, Lewis. It's not like saying, okay, that didn't work. So this is like beforehand, like Dolphin fans are screaming on Twitter and on all these other things, run the damn ball. It's working. But he's not going to. And and here's what I don't understand, Lewis. He was the run game coordinator in San Francisco. He is known as one of the most creative run play callers in the entire league, okay, or at least in terms of designing that type of game plan.
But who was in charge?
I understand he wasn't in charge. I get it. I know Shanahan was in charge, and Shanahan ultimately is going to go to that. But it's there for him. Like he set these plays up perfectly, and his backs were good, right? The line was good. The receivers were blocking downfield. They had plays that were made there. Mostert was able to get to the second level and the third level. So why on 3rd and 1? Why on 3rd and 2 are you trying to throw an out route with Tua in bad conditions, even if it wasn't snowing yet? Okay, the ball is colder. Okay, it means it's heavier. Okay, it means those outs are harder to throw. And I'm not one of these, Tua can't play in the cold truthers. Okay. But make it easier on the guy. Why are you calling those kind of routes when you need a yard, 2 yards to extend your drives, keep your defense off the field? Because look, I don't trust the Josh Boyer defense either, okay? Or maybe I trust them less than you do. But why make it harder on them? I think he did that today. So yes, they scored a lot of points. I didn't have a problem with them going for 2. But I think he made the game harder in places where it didn't have to be, and it gave them less margin for error late. And I think these are things he's going to learn from. And I do think they're going to make the playoffs. I don't agree. I'm looking at some of the comments here. And again, Manny, if you could throw some of these up, that'd be great.
Remember, there's a lot of Bills fans right now roasting us. So
no, they are. I get it. And look, the Bills deserve it. The Bills are better than the Dolphins. Okay. But I don't think they're as much better as we thought before the season. I don't think that there's this seismic gap like there was between those great Patriot teams and the Dolphins all those years. I think the Bills are better. I think the Dolphins are gaining on them. Okay. I don't think the Bills have been world beaters by any means over the last 6, 7, 8 weeks of the season. This game was there. Okay. The Dolphins should have had a sweep against the Bills this year. So Bills fans can celebrate this. That's fine. They deserve it. They're going to be Super Bowl contenders. They are not heads and tails above the Dolphins right now. They are not. I'm sorry. Their quarterback is, okay, but the rest of those teams are pretty even, I think, at this stage. That's what I saw.
Well, what I'm going to say is that even if everybody believes, if you believe that Josh Allen is heads and tails above Tua as far as a quarterback, I feel like we should make it clear that's not an impediment on Tua. It's just that Josh Allen is a physical freak of nature that Tua cannot replicate no matter how much practice or how good he is with his accuracy. They're just two different players. So we have to accept that and realize that there's only 2 guys in the whole NFL who can do the types of things that Josh Allen is doing. It's him and Patrick Mahomes. There's no one else in the league who can do that.
Correct.
So congratulations for the Bills that you have literally one of the 2 aliens in the entire NFL. They're not real people. They're Vulcans. They're whatever super strong alien you want to throw in there. But I digress. As far as Tua himself goes, he responded about as well as I could ask for him. He did exactly what he needed to do. He was able to find some guys. He actually checked down a couple of times, which is helpful. He was able to find open receivers when they were actually open. That pass to Jalen Waddle was beautiful. That pass to Tyreek Hill was beautiful. But as you mentioned, it was set up seriously by the fact that they were actually running the football. The Bills were not able to sell out against the pass. They actually had to commit some resources to stopping the run, and that was what opened up those seams for Tua to find these open guys. It makes a massive, massive difference. It really, really does. So with that being said, now we asked Mike McDaniel a very simple question. We're going back home to Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers is coming to town. And I know what he's wanting to do. He's wanting to probably prove that his quarterback is better than a future Hall of Famer, because that seems like the kind of thing he would want to do. I feel like at this point, this game, if nothing else, I hope somebody pulls him aside and says, listen, you're doing a fantastic job with this offense, but did you see what was going on there against Buffalo? You need to do the same thing against Green Bay. Do not start going pass happy again. He needs to continue to run the football. Whatever you did against Buffalo, do it again against Green Bay, and everything will open up the same way that you said it. And I get it. There's this weird itch in his brain that he really, really, really wants to pass the football. I get it. It worked really well during the winning streak. I understand why he's tempted to do it, because when Tua is on his game, he is an absolutely elite NFL quarterback. It's like nobody can stop him. But again, you can't do that unless you have some level of balance. As soon as the other team sells out to stop whatever you're doing, you're done. Unless you go ahead and adjust. That's the key word there, adjust. And that's something that I was very upset with. And I was very concerned that it was going to turn into an Adam Gase situation. And I said that last week. I said that last week on Postgame. Show me that you're not Adam Gase. Show me that you're going to adjust to your play calling, adjust what your plan is, and not just keep hammering it down into a brick wall.
Well,
that it's not going to work. He
did. He did until third and short. And
yeah,
that's the part. Is first thing. I don't think there's going to be a ton of carryover from tonight to the Green Bay game for a few reasons. One, obviously the conditions are going to be significantly different. It'll probably be in the 70s on Christmas Day in Miami Gardens. So that's one difference. The other thing is the Green Bay has no receivers. Okay. So the Dolphins' secondary issues should not be an issue. I mean, the problems that Green Bay's had all year is that Aaron's got nobody to throw to. So I wouldn't be especially concerned about that. The Packers really aren't playing for anything. The NFC, I mean, they could be out of it completely eliminated by then. If they're not, they're on the very fringe of the race. So this is not like a Buffalo team that's playing, for home field advantage in the playoffs and the division title. That's a completely different story. I don't think. I really don't have a lot of concerns about that game. The game I have concerns about is the New England game on the road. And if the conditions are bad again, what do they do? And again, I know Tua has the record against Belichick. I'm not a Mac Jones believer, as you know. But
that makes all Ethan, though. That makes all the difference. You just said it. Let me put it this way. You substitute Josh Allen for Mac Jones for Buffalo. Does Miami win this game?
Of course.
So there it is. You just answered the question.
Of course, but also, like I said, Miami did a lot of things right tonight and didn't win the game, although they could have won the game. And their running game was better. I mean, we mentioned some of these comments that come in here. We appreciate Manny throwing up. Polder goes, Sherfield dropping that pass. That was big. Early in the game, he's caught everything all year. The last three games, okay, got a little better tonight after that in the second half. But the last three games, Tua was awful, okay, I thought, in the last two games, particularly the last game. But his receivers did him no favors. Tonight was a little better, except for the two drops, the end zone drops in the first half. Waddle made a really good adjustment on one play. I thought Hill made a couple of good adjustments. I thought Cedric Wilson, who has been virtually invisible in the offense this year, made a great catch to keep a drive alive. They were a little better tonight. That has been one of their better units of the season. They're not going to use Gesicki. We talked about that. What do you have? One target, two targets, one catch, whatever. But the Sherfield drop was big. They are, like I said, they've developed an identity here. Okay, the defenses of the last couple of weeks kind of squeeze their identity, right? The timing patterns, the short stuff. He had to make an adjustment today in bad conditions that actually were not as bad as we thought they were going to be until late. And I thought he made those adjustments. I really don't have huge complaints about that. And I don't know how Dolphin fans can either. And again, I know we're being populated on the comments with Bills fans. And I keep saying the same thing. Congratulations. Your team is better. Your team was supposed to be better. But what I'm saying that Dolphin fans should take encouragement from is, I don't think this is looking like a 5 to 10 year run like we saw with the Patriots in this division. I don't think the Bills are that much better than the Dolphins. I think they're a hair better than the Dolphins, okay, at this stage. And I think because of that, that's why some of these things mattered tonight. That's why the fact McDaniel getting away from the run. Look, the Dolphins haven't run the ball on anybody like that all year, okay? And look what they did to the Bills. That did not look to me like a championship defense today in Buffalo, okay? The fact that Miami was able to – I mean, Mostert, again, wasn't getting touched until he got to the second level. And we talk about depth and other issues there. This comes in from Orion. The difference I saw is Miami's lack of depth of the secondary. Miami's suspect play calls on both sides of the ball, needed inside backers. They need new linebackers. We agree on that, Lewis? I mean, they need to upgrade the linebacking core. For sure.
I mean, for what it's worth, I like Landon Roberts as a run thumper, but we need more depth. Like here's the problem. So here's the problem. Here's my issue. Are we saying who's the guy that's not good enough? Is it Jerome Baker? He's not good enough, so we need to move on from him. Is it a
Well,
Landon
I mean,
Roberts?
he
Well,
got a
what
contract, and I don't know what that costs them to move on from it. I think he's a good player. I don't think he's what he's been made out to be. Landon Roberts is a good run player, but you're right, he's one dimensional. I mean, he's a very good run player. And by the way, he made the hit on Allen, which I want to look at again and again and again and again because I'm not sure he crossed the
personally,
plane.
I thought he did. I thought he
Okay.
crossed the plane.
Okay, fair. Okay, but I'm saying he's a great run player, but he's not. But you can't put him in coverage,
No,
and he's not a pass rusher. So they've got limitations at that position. I don't look. Dolphin fans are down on Chubb. He's almost there all the time. He just doesn't get there.
Right, it's the Jalen Phillips syndrome. He has the most almost sacks on the
except
team.
Jalen's starting to get there. That's the difference. Okay,
But you know when he started to get there?
When Bradley Chubb
showed up.
Exactly. So that has helped. And I think Dolphin fans are being a little too hard on Chubb. Like, I think there is a lot to work with there. And Sealer's terrific, and Wilkins is terrific, and I think Raekwon Davis is pretty good. There are a lot of pieces there, but you mentioned it. The secondary has been the big problem this year because really their defense has had to reshape. Byron Jones not being there, but I'm not going to count on him anymore to ever play for the Dolphins again.
Okay, that's fine. I understand that.
The Needham injury hurt them significantly. I point more to that one because he was actually playing for them this year.
Nick Needham, Trill Williams going down before the season started.
That one hurt them too. But you know what's hurt them more than anything else? Xavier Howard's decline.
His decline, Ethan, I'm not taking away from what you're saying. What I'm saying, though, is that I don't know why we're expecting superstar level play when, like, here's the problem. How often does Xavier get targeted? Not very often.
More than he used to.
More than he used to. Yes, he does. More than he used to. But the fact of the matter is that now, because he cannot afford to be super ball hawk man, knowing that he's only got to cover one dude.
I'm not worried about the interceptions. That's not what I'm talking about.
But that's what I'm worried about. He's not playing his game.
Yeah, but the fact that he's got one pick, Lewis, the fact that he's got one pick is not what bothers me. The fact that there was like 135 passer rating against him as of 2 weeks ago for the season, that's what concerns me. The fact that we're on third down when they need a play and they go against him. Look, Diggs is a great receiver, okay, who wanted the ball more tonight. You knew when they had a third down and they went to Diggs against X that Diggs was going to make the play. When you go back in previous years, we would not have said that. We would not have said that. We would have said, no, X has got him, okay, no matter how good the guy is on the other side. He's not elite anymore. And the problem is he's probably still good. And if he had another good corner other than an undrafted rookie who's played really well this season, but if you had another guy back there, he might look better. I get that. I understand that. But he's not elite. He's not elite. And the thing is, if they don't have him as elite on the back end, okay, and they don't have their best, Brandon Jones' loss was huge too, okay, because he was their best blitzer.
We didn't even mention him.
Yeah, he was their best blitzer. So you lost him. Forget Byron Jones, okay? Byron Jones didn't play this year. But Brandon Jones looked like he was going to be a big factor this year, and obviously he hasn't been. Needham gave them pretty good depth. He hasn't been there. And X has declined significantly. He's declined significantly. He's a guy now. He's a little better than a guy. He's like a number 2 corner. Okay, but to play the defense the way you wanted to play it, he has to be an elite number 1. He's not anymore. It's just that's it. There's not guys don't stay at that level forever. Give him credit. He's been at that level for a long time. Sam and Pat declined eventually too. It happens. Okay, I think. But they had each other. So I understand your point. They could play off of each other. But I think that's been one of the big problems this year. Do we blame X or the defensive scheme? I think I'm blaming a little bit of both, honestly. Right? I mean, I don't know. Would you fire Josh Boyer after this year?
Yes. But it depends on – but you know what, though? I put an asterisk on that. Because my question after that is, who are you getting to replace him? Now,
if you get Vic Fangio, I think that's pretty good.
If Mike McDaniel can pull Vic Fangio in and say, you're my guy, then I will happily wave bye-bye to Josh Boyer and not look back. But unless that is the case, because see, that's the thing. I see people saying that Boyer needed to be fired alongside. For who? Who are you putting in there? Are you calling Gerald Alexander to come back and apologize? What is the solution there? Like,
look, obviously Gerald Alexander is a name that's going to come up. I think that there are other guys on staff that you could look at, but I think beyond that, if you get a Vic Fangio, look, why would you not want to coach with Mike McDaniel? If you're another coach around the league, he has shown that he's good with people. He manages situations extremely well. He gives credit to other people, right? And he's got job stability here, which is a positive. He's kept the owner out of the way this year. Part of that was because the owner was suspended, but we haven't heard from Steve Ross at all, which is a very good thing.
Right. They're winning. What does he have to complain about?
Well, but he's not. We haven't even heard from him. He's been reinstated for more than a month, and we haven't heard his name. 2 months almost. We haven't heard his name. It's terrific. Okay, McDaniel's done a great job with all of that stuff. If you're a veteran defensive coordinator, I'm not saying Wade Phillips at this stage, probably too old, but if you're a veteran defensive coordinator who's had success as a D coordinator, who's had some head coaching experience, but maybe didn't work out as a head coach, we've seen this happen with the Romeo Crennels of the world and others. Why would you not want to coach with Mike McDaniel? He's got the offense, right? He's got the offense. They're going to score points, okay? So, and you say, look, here's a defense. We've got you Bradley Chubb signed. We got an emerging star in Jalen Phillips. We're going to re-sign Zach Sealer, which I think with him signing with Drew Rosenhaus is indicative that he's going to re-sign with the Dolphins most likely because Drew gets his guys back to the Dolphins, okay? He'll get money, but he's going to go back to the Dolphins. So you've got Sealer, you've got Chubb, you've got Phillips, okay? You've got Javon Holland. You've got this kid Kodu who can play. Kohu who can play. You've got Brandon Jones coming back off of injury. You've either got X, some version of him, or you've got whatever you get in trade compensation for him. Okay. Why wouldn't you want to coach that defense? I mean, to me, I think he's going to have an easy time finding somebody. To me, the Josh Boyer thing was always, look, I've got a lot of responsibility this year. I got to coach the offense. Okay. I got to reshape Tua. I got to rebuild his confidence. And I got to figure out how to run this thing as a head coach. I don't have time to break in a defensive coordinator who doesn't know this personnel. That's to me what that was about. So you keep the guy for 1 year, and then you get to the end of the year, like, okay, we can do better. I think we see most head coaches who retain coordinators, they don't retain them beyond 1 year. They retain them 1 year, and then they move on for them. So I think that's what's going to end up happening. I would take a look at somebody else. But if you can get a Vic Fangio, to me, you're head coach of the defense. Run it. That's it. That's where you got to go. And Ross will pay the money for it. That's not an issue. He'll pay for a defensive coordinator. Like, whatever issues you have with Steve Ross, and I think we both have issues with Steve Ross, his willingness to pay for, that's not an issue. He's never balked at, as far as I know, like paying a coordinator or something like that. He's not going to do it. So I think that's where this is headed. I think Josh Boyer will be a defensive coordinator somewhere else next year. That's where I think this is headed.
Maybe he will be, but you know what? And again, if it turns out that they end up getting their hands on Vic Fangio, again, I will not look back. I will not shed a single tear for Josh Boyer getting.
Well, Johnny, be good in the comments here. I mean, Todd Bowles is probably. I think he's going to get axed in Tampa because of the Brady situation. Would you hire Todd Bowles as your defensive coordinator?
I would go for Fangio first. That's just
okay.
Me because
would either of them be upgrades over Josh Boyer?
Yes.
Okay.
In my opinion, yes, absolutely. And Fangio has even said earlier this year that back in August that he would absolutely be open to being a coordinator again if that would be the case. He's currently acting as a defensive consultant for the Philadelphia Eagles, which I don't think Manny would be very appreciative if we swiped him away from the.
Well, he's interviewed with the Dolphins before, though, so they know him. Like it's not he interviewed for the head coaching.
Right, he knows for the head coaching job, and he has history with Mike McDaniel from back in San Francisco. So
he's going to be the defensive coordinator next year. We're calling it right here. We're going to clip this. Where is this? What minute are we at? This is my 4th stream today. I've done 2 Heat streams and 2 Dolphin streams. So one team won, one team lost, but the team that won, it didn't really matter. This one comes in from Richard. McDaniel should have run the ball in those short yardage situations. Just run the down ball. Stop being cute. You got that, coach. I am the biggest Mike McDaniel. I love the guy. I completely agree with that comment. He gets too cute. He gets too cute.
And I think that, again, that was probably the biggest deal on offense is that they could have run the ball more and they didn't. And that's something he's either going to have to learn or he's going to go down with the ship.
How many attempts did he have today, Lewis? You got the box score?
I can pull it up real quick. Are you on?
I'm just curious because
you wanting the total
said
ratio?
He wouldn't go over 30 under any circumstances. So let's see. What did he end up with?
Okay, so I'm pulling it up now.
Okay.
Let's see here. So
let's see.
You want the grand total?
We're doing this real time. He had 25.
Yeah, 25.
25 carries for 188.
And 2
7.5 yards
times.
a pop.
Yeah, I know.
Run the damn ball on 3rd and 1, Lewis. Just run it.
Yeah, I mean, again, I agree with you completely. I don't see any reason why they shouldn't have done it, and I was very upset that they didn't try to do it more. Give the ball to Alec Ingold if you don't want to give it to Mostert. Continue to do what has been working until they can't stop it anymore. In many ways, I feel like Mike McDaniel outsmarted himself, and a lot of people are getting very frustrated with Tua's performance because he can't keep up with Josh Allen. Again, I say this to make sure that everybody, and I say this once again. Josh Allen and Tua Tagovailoa are two different athletes. They're not the same person. They are not, and to compare the two is like doing apples and oranges. That is like comparing. Like I'm trying to come up with a good analogy here, because if you're going to give Tua the Drew Brees ceiling, right? Even then, they're not the same player. Drew Brees does not run for 60 yards a game. That's not his game. So to come in here and say that, oh, Tua can't keep up with Josh Allen, well, on an individual level, no, he absolutely can't. Does that mean that Tua's meh? Does that mean Tua's just an average, just a guy quarterback? No, it just means that he can't keep up as an individual with the likes of Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, who, again, we keep saying this, and everybody else in the whole league acknowledges this. There is nobody else besides those two guys in the entire league who can do what they do. You just have to come up with ways to stop them. And then on offense, you have to execute. That's just the simple fact of the matter. Tua can execute the offense. That's what he does better than Teddy Bridgewater. That's for sure. He sure does it better than Skylar Thompson. And when Tua was out, you could tell the difference. So you can't tell me that him not being in there doesn't make a difference, because it absolutely does.
I got a number for you, Lewis. You ready?
Hit me with it.
They averaged 7.5 yards per rushing attempt today and 7.4 yards per passing attempt. Which was fine. The passing attempt number is fine in those conditions. There is no justification for throwing it more than running it. I honestly believe if the run-pass ratio was flipped, if it was 30 to 25 run to pass instead of 30 to 25 pass to run, they win this game. I really think it's that simple. I think he got too cute. Your point about Allen and Tua, though, Tua outplayed Allen in Miami against Buffalo the first time, okay? He can outplay him. I'm not saying he's better than him. Allen is better built for the conditions that they were in tonight than Tua is, but I thought that Tua acquitted himself just fine, okay? He made a couple of bad throws, but he didn't make a big mistake. He gave his receivers opportunities, should have had a touchdown to Sherfield early in the game, made a perfect throw to Hill, a perfect timing throw for the touchdown, made a very solid throw to Waddle, okay, that got them the big play, made a great throw to Wilson, okay, that kept the drive alive late. I just think it's not that he couldn't throw today. I just think McDaniel threw the ball at times where he shouldn't have. And I think this is something he will learn from. We've talked about learning experiences for him. The best possible scenario for the Dolphins this year, in a year that we didn't think they were going to win the Super Bowl, okay, was make the playoffs, try to win a playoff game, and Mike McDaniel, who has proven that he's rehabilitate Tua, which he's done, okay, and learn on the job, okay? And there are enough teachable moments for him this season that I think he can get a lot out of it. The clock management was bad for a couple of games. Teams taking away his timing passing game, he's had to adjust to that. Now he's got to adjust to down and distance, okay, and going with what's working instead of the cute little play he's got designed in his head. That's it. Sometimes it's as simple as handing it to your back, who's getting you 7.5 yards of carry, and seeing if he can get you 2 on a 3rd and 1. That's it. Like, right? I think he overthinks. I'd rather have a guy who overthinks than a guy who doesn't think, because the Dolphins have had a lot of coaches who don't think, okay? Like all of them over the past 25 years, okay? But I think sometimes he overthinks, and I thought he overthought today. And I see most of the comments. I think people agree. I'm looking what he hasn't learned to lean on the run game the last few games. I'm with you. I just think it's almost like he's surprised it's working, Lewis. It's almost like he's surprised it's working.
Well, to be fair, it wasn't working at the beginning of the season. We were constantly lamenting that. It's like, why can the run game coordinator of the San Francisco 49ers not seem to get to run the ball? And now that it is working, yeah, it probably shocks him. It's like, hey, how are we able to do this? I kind of want to do what's been working this entire time. when you get, it's basically like, it's almost like a drug, Ethan. It's almost like a drug. I'm gonna put it like that. It's like a drug. This entire massive winning streak the Miami Dolphins went on, it was on the back of Tua Tagovailoa's arm and Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle making ridiculous catches, and Tua being absolutely laser precision with his accuracy. And it's like a drug. When it's like playing Madden. It really is like playing Madden. Who runs the ball in Madden, man? Who wants to do that? You always want to do the flashy big play. I'm going to throw it. I'm going to heave it down way down the field, and I'm going to hit the Y button and have my guy jump over the other defender, and it's going to come down in a very weirdly physics game where it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But that seems to be how it worked for Miami for some time. Now it's not working anymore. And now he has to like wean himself off of the drug because now it's not working anymore the way that it used to. You're going to have to figure out a way to do you're going to have to get that high from other locations because the thing that you were doing before is not working anymore. And he's shocked that this other thing is actually giving him the same kind of results that he's wanting. So if, again, I say this again, if he has learned any type of lesson, he will not have Tua throw the ball 50 times against Aaron Rodgers. I don't care how well it's working. You should try to maintain some level of balance because if they do not, even if they win that game, it's still not going to bode well for the playoffs because the teams who win in the playoffs are not just the teams who can throw the ball 60 times and do nothing else. I'm sorry. You have to be able to do everything well, or generally speaking, you do not win the big one. Because Kansas City, even if they're not the best defense, they had a defense. They had a defense that was worth saying, okay, there's decency there. Buffalo, same thing. Have a good offense, have a good defense. You can do both. At some point, even if Josh Allen is the entire offense, like Josh Allen, once again, was their leading rusher today. What a shock. It's not a shock for me. He's the leading rusher. He's the guy. He's their passing. He's their rushing. He's the everything. But it works for them. I don't think that's a good long-term strategy, but I'm not a coach. I don't know any better. But again, another team that is an example of the San Francisco 49ers. They can run when they can pass when they need to, and they play top-level defense. They're going to the playoffs, and some people are saying that they're going to make it to the Super Bowl. That's not a coincidence. They're a balanced team.
Right.
Miami and Mike McDaniel has not learned that lesson yet. Because he thinks that we say that it's a passing league, and it is, but it's not to the extreme that McDaniel wants it to be. And he hasn't learned that lesson yet.
I think he will. I think he will. I think he's smart enough to figure it out. And I think he also takes suggestions from people around him, which a lot of coaches, I think that was Adam Gase's biggest problem. I do think that he will take those suggestions and learn from them. Let's just close here because it's been a long day, and we appreciate everybody commenting here on the threads. I appreciate Lewis jumping in with me on both shows here today, and obviously we'll have more Dolphins content during the week with 3 yards per carry and final extra yard, and also with Pulse of Fins Nation. Are you, after tonight, are you more convinced or less convinced that they'll be a playoff team this year? Because obviously, if they won the game, they were going to be a playoff team.
Oh, Miami? No, they're going to – listen, I fully expect the Miami Dolphins to wreck these next 3 teams. I'm not even – like, so like you're worried – you're saying you're, like, concerned about New England. I'm not even concerned about New England. Again, Josh Allen is Josh Allen doing Josh Allen things, which is freaking alien, I'm out of this world plays that, again, only one other quarterback in the entire NFL can even do that sort of thing. So if that's the case – then this is where I'm saying that who's the next one? Aaron Rodgers with no weapons whatsoever. Where's Aaron Rodgers' version of Stephon Diggs? Missing. There's nowhere. Maybe, I mean, you can probably squint and say Aaron Jones is probably a good weapon, but he's the running back, and Miami has a good history against running backs, so I'm not concerned about him. And again, we're at home, which is a big deal for the Miami Dolphins. They really seem to play a lot better at home than on the road, including the defense. So make of that what you will. Then you're going on the road to New England. We just went toe-to-toe with Buffalo and Josh Allen. Am I supposed to be scared of Mac Jones? Seriously, no.
No, I get it. So are you more afraid? Let's put it this way. Are you more afraid, and we'll close, are you more afraid of a Green Bay team quarterbacked by sort of angry, checked out Aaron Rodgers right now with no receivers and no hope of the playoffs, or of a team coached by Belichick, who has lost to Tua 4 times, by the way, coached by Belichick, but quarterbacked by a robot? basically, who's not allowed to do anything like in those conditions. Like which of those two games could, because I'm not even going to talk about the Jets right now. We don't know who's going to play quarterback for them at this stage, or that they'll
Option
even
Ethan, option C, I am more scared about the Jets because with the Jets, you don't even know who you're playing. So how do you get film? That's what I'm scared of. Like if you're scared, let me put that like scared of them. Like, because I don't know if I'm going to play Mike White. Am I playing Joe Flacco? Am I playing Zach Wilson? And like the only thing that's keeping the Dolphins out of the playoffs at this point is if Tua goes down again. That's my honest opinion on it. I'm not worried about Aaron Rodgers. I'm not worried about Mac Jones / Bailey Zappi or whoever the heck they're going to throw out there. And I am certainly not scared of the 3-headed quarterback hydra at the New York Jets. No.
Speaking of the Jets, I had no idea, and I'm going to sleep. I had no idea that Mark Sanchez was an announcer today until he kept saying cheetah 3,000 times.
Oh,
I had no idea.
Did you watch you watched the whole game, right?
Yeah, I had no idea that was the guy.
Commentary was miserable. Even after the Dolphins scored a touchdown, they were talking about how amazing Josh Allen was. I'm like, are you going to talk about the Dolphins at all? No, not really.
I thought they were going to talk about butt fumbles, but who knew? Anyway, that's. I had no idea he was a commentator these days, but there you go. That was a Mike Tannenbaum special. Anyway, we appreciate everybody following today. All I want to say is this. I'm most disappointed because I was going to hit a 5 for 5 on Prize Picks, and Tua I had under 225.5, and he hit 232 before they shut it down, and that ruined my 5 for 5 today, which was going to be a huge payoff, and I was going to take tomorrow off, but now I
would have been fine if I had gotten Deshaun Watson. Justin Tucker missed a field goal at the end of the first half, and then got a field goal blocked. I would have been fine with him. And then Deshaun Watson, I don't know what happened. Maybe he lost his mojo after spending a whole year off. So maybe the Browns just.
Yeah, I think he's lost his mojo for a whole bunch of reasons, Lewis. But that's a whole other issue. You could be dealing with that problem right now. I've traded your entire roster, all your draft picks for a guy in Deshaun Watson who doesn't look like he can play anymore. I think that they're doing okay with Tua. All right. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it. We'll be back with more Dolphins content during the week, and, of course, all the Heat content as well here on the channel. Have a good night.
PrizePicks.com, promo code 5.